Hello and good morning, friends. Once again, we are here with another edition of the Multimillionaire Forum. What this forum does is that we share some information, some research, knowledge that we have accumulated over the last couple of weeks to bring this topic to you. Purely educational as an endeavor, so there is no product recommendation of any kind. There is no discussion on any stock or any particular mutual fund. What we will do is learn about what's happening in one particular section of the Indian economy. And not only that, we will also deep dive into some absolutely jaw-dropping facts that we have brought together. So that's what we do every time in the Multimillionaire Forum. We do this on the first Saturday of every month. At least the first Saturday, we try and keep that schedule. Sometimes it doesn't, but most of the times it's on the first Saturday. Do circulate this message. And all these editions that we have are already recorded on YouTube, and one can go back and refer to the previous sessions as well. So, having said that, let's jump into our topic for today. And today we thought about talking about defense. And see, the reason we thought about talking about defense, in a way, also, as you would have all guessed, is like a little bit of a fallout of the Operation Sindoor that just happened recently. Maybe it is still on, but for the time being, thankfully everything is steady and calm. So there are no news of any activity happening on the border areas or any kind of drone strikes or missile strikes. Everything seems to be calm. So that's basically good. So why? Oh, by the way, so this is the disclaimer. I already spoke about it. So let's move forward. No problem. Okay. So yeah, please go ahead. So what actually happened is, and why we even decided to talk about this subject is because our Operation Sindoor, of course, happened, but there is certainly something that happened which a lot of us obviously will not know because it's happening behind the screen, or behind the screen that most people can see. What happens is, when this kind of an activity happens, this sort of a war-like activity or a war, there are a lot of companies, there are a lot of governments who are very keenly looking at each equipment, whether it was military equipment, whether it was a naval equipment, and whether it was a air equipment. How did the equipment work? Who manufactured it? What went right for it? What went wrong? Where can the improvement be made? So on and so forth. So even the debris, for example, that are a fallout of this kind of a war. So, and debris do fall all over the place, right? So those debris are also quite valuable, and there is a lot of analysis done on the debris as well. But we are not going to go into the science of it. We are going to go and look at this sector purely and totally from an investment case. Okay. So what you see in front of you is something absolutely astonishing. Now, this is unimaginable. Nobody thought this would happen. This is a chart which we are showing you, and right at the date of 3rd March 2025, which is literally March, April, and May, 3 months. And there was a stupendous rally that happened in the defense index. Yes, we also have an index. It's called the defense index. And by the way, for all of you who may not be so aware about all sorts of indices, most of us only look at the Sensex, and we say that the Sensex is 80 or 85,000 or 90,000. But along with the Sensex, there is Nifty, there is Bank Nifty, there is Financial Nifty sector. I mean, we have more than 150 indices, today. So there is a lot of activity happening in that space. If you want to monitor chemicals, there's an index for chemicals. If you want to monitor public sector banks, there's an index for that. So those indices, and there's a lot of historical data. So those indices basically help us to understand how this particular sector is developing, and is there an opportunity which is coming up in this sector. It helps these kind of charts give a little indication of that. And obviously, one basic fact, again and again, I keep repeating, when the stock prices move up, when the funds move up, there is obviously, it's not moving up all on gas and speculation. There is some logic to it. And the logic could be, most of the times, profit. And it has to be profit, because that's the direct relationship between the stock price and the growth of the stock price and the growth of the company. Stock price would only move up if it is backed by a good, solid balance sheet. If the balance sheet was not so great, we will not see this kind of growth. So, of course, there are emotional triggers that happen, and there's a combination of both that has happened in the last 3 months, and which is why you see this huge rally that has happened. So the question is, why have we brought this topic and why are we speaking about this? And there are many reasons, as you will see. But letting the cat out of the bag, will the momentum continue? We think yes, the momentum will continue. This is like a shocker. So by the time people realize, and I'm sure a lot of people have not even realized, because see, the index hasn't done much. We sort of started falling from September, October of last year. We went down and we are just about kind of coming there. We are not even recovered completely. So if you look at the Sensex, or if you look at Nifty, the levels of 26,000 on Nifty, we went down and 17, 18, 20%. We've not even come back there. But this particular pocket has had an explosion of sorts. So let's move on. Let's understand a lot more about what's happening. Yes, and this is exactly what I was looking for and I was talking about. So we did a little analysis of the last 6 months. Okay, this is just purely data. Okay, and what you are seeing here in your data is that in the impending about 8 to 9 months, so from September to Feb, that's October, November, December, Jan and Feb, that's about 5 months, and maybe half of September. So let's say 6 months. As you can see, Nifty here did a 17% return. Okay, and things turned around in March. So March and April, it recovered. So basically Nifty had gone down. Here it went up. And then in the month of May 25, it only went up about 3%. Nothing great, right? If you add up these two things, it's basically 14%. That is what your broad index has done. Okay. In the same fashion, if you look at Bank Nifty, it was down 12%. So banking sector, down 12% in the fall. And now it has recovered 19%. This is a little exception because this is crossed the previous levels. If you look at the whole market, now this is beautiful, okay? I'm going to remove these drawings. And this is like a lovely index to see. It's called Nifty 500. So the Nifty 500 pretty much gives you an absolute sense of what is happening in the whole economy. I mean, these are the leading 500 companies of the country which are listed. So it gives you a perfect sense across the board, across all industries, what's happening. So this index fell 20% in that 6-8 months, and it has today cumulatively recovered 11 plus 6, 17%. Okay, so even full recovery is still pending. Oh, and by the way, if 100 rupees goes down to 80 rupees, we call that a 20% fall. But that 80 rupees, when it has to come back to 100 rupees, we need a 25% appreciation. Okay, so it's not that we went down 20 and we should come back up 20. It doesn't work like that. The mathematics is if we go down 20, we must come back 25%. So if you see, Nifty 500 is up 17%, and the gap that it has to cover is that of 25%. So it is still got to move up about 8% more just to come to the original level. Okay. Same thing applying for this is mid caps, 23% down and just about 24% up, but still time to recover, get the whole thing. This is small cap, 28 down and then 27 up. As you can see now, PSU banks, these are banks, okay? These PSUs means PSU. This is a PSU bank index. This is 24% down and obviously it has come 30% up, okay? There is a little logic for that and which I will touch about in just a moment. But now look at this star performer. Look at this individual performer. Look at defense. In the fall of September to February, even this defense sector fell by about 28%. But look at what has happened in the period from March and April. 2 months, friends, 2 months, it went up 42%. This is the index, defense index. And just in the month of May, it went up, it shot up 33%. So total 75% appreciation in just 3 months. Okay. The reason this index has come up, PSE has come up 26%, because there are certain companies of defense which are part of this PSE index also. And the reason PSU bank index has really shot up is because funding to these PSCs and funding to these defense companies happens from some of these banks, and which is why the PSU banking sector has actually shot up. In fact, there's a little movement happening in financial services space of all across, which went up by about 55%. Remember, the index went up 75%, but this defense fund in the same period went up 55%. And then there were two other index funds itself, but because of the timing of the starting, etc., they are up about 70%. So marginal difference between index, and that is possible because it's not exactly possible to replicate the index, even if computers are doing it, because the price is rising so fast and in milliseconds. So that's a little bit of an issue there. But otherwise, 70, 75 should be considered equal. Okay, so what we think is there are three fundamental triggers that actually created this rally. We went down. Of course, the most logical was Operation Sindoor, and we'll talk about it in very brief. But we're not going to talk about the details and the analysis. Like I said, we are all going to talk about this from an investment point of view. So, of course, trigger one was that Operation Sindoor. The other trigger was about our capabilities, and a third trigger, which I think was some data triggers, which we are going to show you. Okay, so let's come back to that Operation Sindoor. Let's talk about exactly what happened. While India and Pakistan were at war, the rest of the world was very keenly observing. And like I said, a lot of them were just not observing news like most of us were doing. We were just hoping that, crossing our hands and praying that none of our civilian territories get bombed, because, in a war, anything can happen. We were just hoping that we don't have any casualties in India. We don't have too much of damage in India. I mean, obviously, this is how all of us are going to think. So what very interestingly happened is, there were reports that there were advanced aircrafts and drones which delivered 9 precision missile strikes. Now, precision means, just imagine it's falling from the sky and it reaches the exact pinpoint target. And that is the success of that weapon, that it fell where it was supposed to fall and it caused the damage that was supposed to cause. And as a result of which, of course, the fallout of the war was that, we've eliminated a lot of terrorist camps and all of that. But looking at the strength of the weapon itself, so India suddenly came onto the world stage. And not only that, everybody was looking at the fact that Indian manufacturing has actually taken shape. These weapons are probably good quality. We'll talk about manufacturing in just a bit. And another very interesting fallout out of this Operation Sindoor happened, that India's stance has changed. So India is no more that kind of a country which is going to react when it is going to be intimidated. Here, we will take the first step ahead, and if there is something that goes wrong, we will go ahead. And this offensive defense doctrine actually came out, and this got pretty well settled in the whole world. Now, diplomatically, that's a very big win, because then suddenly you are amongst the club of big boys saying that, look, I mean, we are going to take care of our country. And why not? I mean, today we are almost the 4th largest economy of the world, and soon we'll be number 3 as well. And then we have to obviously ensure that our defense, our financial strength, and everything is in place. So Sindoor was a natural trigger why this happened. And the market thinks that everything is good and India is like super strong. Okay. The second trigger, like I mentioned, in terms of capability and manufacturing. So these are some facts here. Our defense budget this year was 6.21 lakh crore. Now, what is notable is that this target itself has shot up by about 10%. So it was a 10% jump in the amount of money that we are going to spend in defense. See, this is very important from a global point of view and from an investing point of view. So globally, the world thinks that India is going to manufacture more and they're going to buy more. They're going to spend more on weapons and equipment. On the investment side, automatically this becomes important, because if there is a 10% more budget happening, 10% more means if there's, another humongous, 60, 70, 80,000 crore kind of a budget increment, that's a lot of money that is going to follow this sector. The other things that the world notice is the things like 5th generation models. I mean, we can all read about it, but these are just some references to the Tejas aircrafts that we manufacture, the Kalawari class submarine that is talked about, which is extremely stealth and very, very precise. tank production, BrahMos missiles, we saw them actually in action. So far, we were only talking about how India is developed as a country and how we are selling to Philippines and Indonesia and how we were exporting all of our missiles like BrahMos, etc. But now we actually saw them in action. And then we also, along with the Russian, air defense system, our own Akash air defense system also knocked out hundreds and hundreds of drones out of the sky, right? Now, that also became another very important thing that, okay, wherever we are going to invest money, these companies are making products and the products are actually world-class products. And so not only are we going to use them, but we have already used it, implemented them, executed them, and seen the impact of that. And therefore, now the next thing that's going to happen is that we want to even talk about exporting the same thing. So, Make in India, these are some other initiatives. There's some about 300 odd startups that are happening in this defense research and innovation space. Who knows? There'll be so much of more opportunity that will come out of these 300 companies, and these 300 companies will also become investable companies. We've made Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, for those who didn't know, as hubs to manufacture and support MSMEs who are going to do defense manufacturing. Make in India defense procurement is up so much. So all in all, what is happening is Make in India program is taking a serious turn. It was only about manufacturing and production of industrial activities and industrial goods. But now suddenly we're saying Make in India and let's make defense equipments, okay? All of that. So that is something which is very, very interesting. Some more facts for you. Look at the kind of BrahMos missile here flies in the range of 300 to 900 kilometers. It carries a 300 kilo warhead. It is a fire and forget system. So what happens when we were doing a little research, we were understanding how this actually works. So once this missile is fired, you identify coordinates where it has to go. And once it's fired, there's hardly a chance that it could even sway a little bit. It is just so beautiful and so precise. So that's something which is something to be really, really proud about. And there's so much of other military equipment that we have. Look at S-400; it can intercept anything with 400 kilometers away, and with fantastic precision. And today we're the world's second largest army with 1.2 million active troops. So that's about the land forces, and then the story just goes on and on. The kind of destroyers that we have, the kind of corvettes that we have, the kind of frigates that we are having, and all of them all together, basically making our might. Not only that, we are also, our Indian companies are manufacturing this for in collaboration and for other countries and some European countries as well. So there was a talk about one of our Indian companies making or taking orders a while ago for French submarines. So imagine we're going to actually create a submarine in India and France is going to buy it. So that's really something to be super proud about. So there is so much happening again in this kind of space, and we are not even far away. We are even doing nuclear submarines with 6,000 tons and 700 kilometer strikes ranges. Okay, let's move to air defense and let's look at what's happening in air. Again, friends, this is so interesting. When we are able to make our own, I will of course not talk about all of that, but today Indian Air Force is the fourth largest in the world, as you can see, and our own indigenous Tejas aircraft, which is supposed to be the fourth generation fighter, and today we are talking about the fifth generation fighter, which is going to be ready by about 2035, and not only for us, but we are also going to sell that across the world. So look at the kind of ambition that our country has. This is some very interesting Instagram channel, by the way, that we found, and this channel called the India Brief. I think they did some really good research, and then we did back research on this research. So, which is why the graphics come from there, but that's great stuff. So, look at this. Look at these kind of numbers, and countries. So we are exporting to Philippines, Mauritius, France, of course, Armenia, USA. We are making parts for the aircrafts and helicopter, but this is only growing. And this is growing at like a phenomenal sort of a speed. It's unimaginable. 5 years back, 10 years back, we couldn't imagine that. Now, what interestingly also happened, okay, all this story was absolutely live. This was all going on. All the PSUs and defense companies and PSU banks, they were all in an absolute rally between the period of March 2023 and I'm repeating, March 23 till about June of 24. Now, something went wrong in June, right? What happened is BJP was thinking 400 par ho jayega, we will, get so many seats. Obviously, it did not happen. And as a result of which, the stock market always does this, right? And I mean, there are so many domestic institutions and more than domestic foreigners. So domestics have an obligation to hold, and they will not dump stocks into the market and make the prices crash. But when it is foreign institutions, they just want to sell and sell at any cost, and they want to sell huge chunks of quantities that they hold, right? So as a result of which, in no time you will see all stocks and everything is down by about 10%, 15%, 20% in a day. It's absolute pandemonium catastrophe that happened on that particular day of July 23 when the results were getting announced. So it was such a bad day. All of us remember it. But then that kind of a phase was corrected by the government. We had a coalition, government moved on, and then right from there till Operation Sindoor. So you see, Operation Sindoor therefore becomes very symbolic and very interesting. So now nobody imagined that Pahalgam attacks would happen, right? But then they happened. And because those Pahalgam attacks happened, and because thereafter we retaliated, and we didn't retaliate just to, like I said, offensive defense doctrine. We just didn't defend to, and go to the international talks and talk about this and let's fix this. We just said, now let's just go all out. Let's just clean up so many hundreds of these camps. And the government actually did that. The defense mechanism of this country actually wiped out and eradicated a lot of it. We will only know the true impact of this few days of Operation Sindoor over the next few years. And sometimes we will not even know some of these facts unless they are made public in terms of exactly what happened and how much victory or how much headway did we make in our fight against terrorism. We wouldn't know all of that. But let's come back to exports. So that's why that period, which was a dull period from July to February, and after this Operation Sindoor, just look at what's happened. So now the point is, everybody once again believes this story. The international investors once again believe this story. They have seen things in action, and once again, there is a tsunami of money coming to India. This is how things are all kind of coming together. This is our export targets. I mean, currently we are exporting about 20,000 crores, and what is expected is that this 20,000 crores, just a second, is likely to move up to this 50,000 crore exports, and this is the kind of a target by 29. But I'm pretty sure that by 29 itself, we would have more or less doubled this number, or we would have been. This is the projection as on today, but with the government, the way it is functioning and what is happening in the public sector space, by the time we come to 29, probably it will become higher. It's the same logic of the GDP of 5 trillion. We were hoping 5 trillion would happen by 2030. 5 trillion is already likely to happen by 27. We are already at 4 trillion and counting. So things like that is really happening. Our production we produced 130,000 crore worth of equipment, and look at the number of licenses. They're just jumping. There's so many licenses. There are small companies who are manufacturing drones, and you can't even imagine. Who knows, somewhere if your drone and if your technology is good, the government just might just place an order for some 50,000 drones, that kind of stuff. So that is the opportunity available for the engineers and for the innovative space of this country. Again, that's humongous. So there are a lot of things, to be really very happy about, to be, in a way, to be very proud about also, because it's all happening in our country and it's all happening around us and for us. So that's beautiful. So this is the third trigger. Again, this is a very nice, interesting piece of data we thought we'll share with you. We are amongst the top 5 military spenders in the world. I mean, this is what the chart shows. Of course, US and China are spending what they are spending, but look at the difference of spending between Germany and India. I mean, everywhere, either we have a Germany in front of us or we have a Japan in front of us. And the distance is just, it's like literally nothing. 86 billion is what we have spent. Germany has spent 88 billion. So difference is negligible. And before we will actually become number 3. And here, Russia is a little ahead of us in terms of defense spending, because obviously it's Russia. But very, very nice to know that this kind of money is being spent and the whole world is noticing. And not only that, we are also spending this thing internally. Atmanirbharta is happening to another level. We are producing all this ourselves. We're spending it and we're keeping the money in India, not really exporting so much of it. Let's move. This is something else. This is not very nice, good news, but I mean, it's an interesting picture to see. What has happened is in the last 5 years, I mean, look at the trajectory, look at the way uh, the whole world is spending on military expenditure, which is obviously, but everybody has to protect themselves in that sense. But I mean, look at the jump, right? I mean, it's almost 2,700. This is in trillions, okay? And then the jump from 23 to 24 was a massive jump. 22 to 23 also massive jump. So the whole world is also spending a lot more money on defense. But I want to take you to something very interesting now, and which is something that you'll be very, very, pleased about. Okay, so some basic facts to start with, just to kind of recap that our production target is to produce 3 lakh crores. Today, I remember a while ago I said we are producing 1 lakh crore, 1,30,000 crores is what we produced, our own production target. Now that's 3 lakh crores in 4 years. So think about the investment case that is building up. Okay, we are currently exporting 20,000. We want to export 50,000. And like I said, by 29, we might even do a lot more. Defense budget, we'll show you some of these numbers on defense budget also. We are spending clearly 9 to 10% incremental money over the last year's budgetary allocation. So that means there's a lot of activity happening in this space. It was happening. It's not new, friends. It's not new. But this story becomes important again. The narrative becomes important again. So everybody thought that with what happened in terms of the 400 seats that we did not get, from that July to suddenly it became like okay, this story is done and over with. But it is not over with. The story has become alive again, and it was alive. But the people who invested in these funds obviously have earned the returns for it. But it's not basically over. Now look at this. This is the heart of the whole thing. Okay, this is absolutely mind-blowing data. Okay, I will take you through this one by one. Obvious reasons we have. The name of the company is all defense because we've not kept any names of the companies here, because the idea is to learn about what's happening in this area versus doing stock analysis. That's not what we are doing. So company number one, for example, their sales or their revenue for the year 24-25 was 3,144 crores. Okay, market cap is, again, just for your information. But the interesting thing is, sales was 3,000 crores and they are sitting on an order book of 34,700 crores. And this is data as on 31/12/24. So this data is about 5 months, 6 months old, 5 months old. I mean, look at the jump. 3,000 crores is what they have sold in the whole year. And they are sitting on orders which are 10 times. 10 times. It's not a small number, right? I hope you see the undercurrent that I'm talking about. This company, 1,700 crores is the sales and the order book is 22,000. 13,000 and 1,84,000 crores order book. I mean, look at the fact that, this order book is kind of just half of the market cap. And market cap is based obviously on the profitability currently. So based on the current sales of 13,700, you are talking about a market cap of 3 lakh crores. So imagine what happens when the order book, when the sales actually, when this order book starts converting back into sales, and when even 50,000 crores come in as sales from this order book, by the way, yes, it's a pinch of salt. It is not the next year's order book, by the way. This is an order book that orders have been received, but production is going to take time. This is not exactly, assembling like a mobile phone or something with the chip is available, batteries available, just fix them all together and it's done. It's not so simple. So it is over a few years. But all I'm saying is, out of this 184, even if 40,000 crores came in and added to the sales of that particular company in the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, just imagine what will happen to this market cap. Where will it go? It will go to the skies. So, and then, I mean, the list just goes on and on, but these are some of the leading companies here. And these are the leading companies which are listed and which are, which we know in front of us. 9,000 sales and 71,000 order book, 2,000 sales and 17,000 order book. And there are smaller companies also. I mean, look at this little company here with 325 crores of sales, with 18,000 crores of market cap, and has 700 crores. In fact, this is even a better example. The last one, look at this one. This company is 11,000, what you might call a small cap or mid cap. And a lot of people are, I only want to invest in blue chips. I don't want to invest in small cap. But look at this company, 400 crores of sales, and it is sitting on order books which are 5 times its current sales, 2,000. Most recent data. This data is as recent as 23rd of May data. So this is kind of what's happening here. Okay, let's kind of come back and look at take me to the chart, that defense chart, and take me to that on TradingView. I started this little session where I said that we are 75% up, and people would think that, oh, so much is happening, but everything is so expensive, right? So let's do a little bit of analysis to understand whether or not it is expensive and how expensive. So this, what you see in front of you, is the defense index, okay? This, obviously, we showed you the defense index has, sorry, I'll just make my markings on again. Sorry about that. So defense markings here, 75%, we already spoke about this thing that has happened. And today, as a result of it, we might think, oh my God, this is so expensive. So because it's so expensive, how do we really make a purchase decision? But I'm going to show you a different chart, okay? Now, by the way, this defense index was actually formulated sometime here in about October, November of 2024. So it's a very new index, right? So it doesn't have data. We don't have data of the past for this index. But luckily for us, what we have in front of us is some of these mutual funds that came out. They were created a little before this index was created, okay? So let's show you, one of the funds. Can you please remove this? Yeah, thank you. Go down to the portfolio. Sorry, no portfolio, returns. Okay, so this is live data. Go all time frames. So since the time this was created, and can you eliminate BSC and thematic? Yeah, thank you. Okay, can you go down a little bit? Thank you. And can it become a larger screen? Can you zoom? Yes, fantastic. Very good. So friends, this, okay, in this fund, this is that 70% move. Okay, I mean, ignore that this is an HDFC defense fund. I mean, let's just forget about this for a moment. But because this fund has been old enough, and this fund came, when did this fund come? Any idea? The start date of this fund? Somewhere it says June of 23. Yeah, thank you. So June 23, this came in. Of course, it had like a massive rally, as you can see. And this was July of 24, where the election results happened. Things went down, okay? And it's kind of come back. Now, what's so interesting about this thing, from a chart analysis point of view, and even logically, if you see, it went up, went down, and went up. But it is kind of coming back to the same level that it was on July 24. So this is a very interesting piece of data. So although this index has gone up 75%, and these funds have got, this particular fund is up 55%, 55, 58, HDFC, 55? Yeah, 55 to about 70%, that's the range of these funds increase. But the interesting point is it's coming back to the level where it had started, or, where it kind of started falling from in July of 24. So despite this fabulous move in the last 3 months, we are just about coming at July 24 prices. So now, if you imagine that if BJP had actually got those 400 seats, okay, agar 400 par ho jata, so we would not have had so much. I mean, of course, we would have fallen a little bit, but then this rally would have kind of continued somewhere there in that fashion. I mean, of course, this is like, I've drawn a very clean graph. I mean, I will not do it like that, but let's say from here, we would have had some, this is more like it, up and down. But broadly, this is the trend. This is the move that we would have seen. Okay, so we are just about coming. We've come back to July 24. Basically, that's the point. So if in July 24, if we were all super bullish, and if all this story was true, the story is just picking up from there. It's like connecting with a friend that you're meeting after 2 years or 1 year. Okay, let's just start the conversation from where we left it. So that is basically what is happening in this space. And of course, there are a lot of reasons, there are a lot of logic for us to see and understand. And that, my friends, is what's happening in the defense space. Okay. So with that, what I want to do is I want to close this little conversation